All right. Okay. Good afternoon, you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Sloppy day around the markets, just very, very chopped. Now, I'm gonna get to AMD in a second here. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening around the Qs here. So my initial target, 285.45, did not hit that today. On the highs, it was about 284.20, about a buck short, and it dumped. Okay. So dumped down to 280. We figured that 280 was going to hold. All right. We played the wedge. All right. Triangle wedge. But obviously did not work out. We're dumping a little bit more because of AMD news in the here in the after hours here. So real quick, just kind of going by what's likely to happen tomorrow. So remember this gap here from October 3rd. We still got this gap. I mean, it's a very, very slight, okay, but you got a gap here that still hasn't filled, and it didn't actually quite fill yesterday, or yeah, yesterday it didn't fill. So downside target, if we are to continue to move down tonight, would be number one. Essentially, we got to fill this gap at 275, right? Watch for this area to hold, though, right? I mean, it's not quite CPI time yet. If it goes any lower, I do think, yeah, we're going to go back straight to 270. And perhaps, just a lot of fear in the streets regarding earnings. But again, CPI is next week. So there's going to be some optimism or some type of bull stepping in as support. So we'll see if that 275 holds tomorrow. And if so, then maybe a potential scalp from 275 back over to 278. For sure, now that we are a little bit below 280 here, this could get pretty choppy tomorrow, especially given it's Friday and all. So we're at 278.75. 280 is obviously going to become resistance. We do have non-farm payroll in the morning tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting to see if the good news is the bad news or bad news is the good news. All right. So let's go to AMD real quick here. AMD daily shooting star here, not looking great, and then dumped even further now. Now AMD hit 62 bucks in the after hours here. So well, we're right. I mean, it literally hit support at $62 right here, right? So you can see the support here from September 29th. Let's see if $65 holds. Now I do hold these in a long port, and if the 62 $64, if that area holds tomorrow, it could be a potential to add a little bit more. And then we got to go and tread carefully into the earnings season coming up. Now, what I do want to mention is that since AMD isn't necessarily dumping like we thought it would on this news, because they warned of third quarter shortfall on weaker PC demand, supply chain issues. They lowered their non-GAAP gross margin to come in around 50%, and they don't report until 10/24, 10/25. So they're dropping this news now to, I guess, soften the blow. And we've all seen that happen, right? FedEx did the same thing, etc., but the markets eventually moved on. Um, if the market shows any strength tomorrow, I do think AMD will come back a little bit, or it just kind of stays, in a consolidated channel. It just might go sideways. But we've seen how markets usually, especially with after hours, like FedEx, for example, usually the day after the market or 2 days after the market eventually moves on from the bad news and moves on to forward-looking stuff, right? Or forward-looking news like the CPI coming up. But see, if AMD starts holding the $65 level, what does that say? Or $62 level, what does that say about Microsoft, right? We all know that coming into this new earnings season in about a week and a half here, 2 weeks, we all know there's going to be likely misses on earnings. Is it going to be like Q2 earnings, where everything was just kind of good enough? Remember, right? If you look at Microsoft and you look at Google last quarter, Amazon, okay, those names started squeezing after having just decent news. Remember earnings back in July for Q2 for Amazon, right? Gapped up, over 10 points and continued running, right? So I would say that got to be careful just buying puts into earnings. Maybe play the side, right? Play the day, but going into earnings, if things continue to fall, you got to think that at these levels, is there potential that it might squeeze on just good enough kind of earnings? It should give us. I'm watching the tech stocks pretty carefully tomorrow. I want to see how bad is this reaction to AMD, and how bad is it really going to be for the earnings coming up. Obviously, no one knows, but hey, Google is still at $102. Okay, still hovering around $100. Nvidia above 120. Microsoft still holding its levels. Okay, with earnings coming up. Meta is another one that's holding. 139 got rejected off the 140 again today, but it's just kind of holding the line so far. All right. So yeah, I just want to provide some insight for you guys going into tomorrow. So once again, if we break this, if we continue to move lower here on the Qs, let's see, AMD still holding 65 at the point, and we're holding on this 278, 279 on the Q. So if we do not hold these levels, now we are below, slightly below the EMA 15 on a daily here. If we don't hold, then likely we'll chop around, and maybe it'll drop towards the end of the day to 275, fill this gap completely, and then we'll move on to next week. All right, guys. Hope you guys had a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.